Welcome to this episode of The Gunman. This is the third video on the transformation of my old XF Ford Falcon into a lookalike race car. So the first couple of videos, one was just a quick look at the dismantling, the second video was doing the rust repairs, and this video is getting it in the spray booth and masking it up and painting all the insides. So the prep work's been done. I included a little bit of the prep work in the second video and the rust repairs video. Basically all I did for the prep work was obviously I repaired all the rust holes, and it was pretty basic. I got the orbital sander, and you can see on the inside of the jambs where I buzzed through, I just sanded off all the surface rust, and then I went over it with 320 grit after I used 180 to get rid of the bad affected areas. And then took it down with 320 grit, and also used red Scotch-Brite to scuff up all of the shiny bits of paint so that our fresh paint's going to stick. Then we've got it in the spray booth now, and I'm giving it a quick mask up. I'm just going to touch on the masking quickly. I had, for this video, I had 1.5 hours worth of footage, but I managed to cut it down through editing to 21 minutes. So most of it I sped it up to double speed, and I ended up cutting out some bits as well. So here we go, and it's all masked up. And next up, I prep soled it. I wiped it down with the wax and grease, the silicone remover, and that's all the seam sealer that I've reapplied, because some of the seams, the sealer was broken, so I removed it all around that boot jam as well, and boot lid as well, and we reapplied it to stop the water from getting back in there. Hopefully it will be able to help stop the rust coming back too soon. So next up, we're getting, this is etch primer. This is the green stuff, and it sticks really well, so that's why I decided to use it. I'm just using it as a wet on wet, so all I'm going to do is be spraying it down and then straight away paint straight over it, so I won't actually end up sanding it. So it's just a 1K product, but it's a really good product. It sticks quite well. The red-brown primers are quite good too. If you want to do something like this, you can get those red-brown primers in there. They've got a bit of rust inhibitor in them too. So one thing you've got to be careful of when you're spraying these green primers is that they're actually extremely bad for you. They've got lots of cancerous chemicals in there, so they're worse than normal paint pretty much. So next up, we've gone and mixed up our colour. Send it down 2 to 1, or to obviously the manufacturer's specifications. But this one's 2 to 1. I'm using solvent base coat and using Standox on it. This is my own car, and I decided I wanted to do it with good quality paint. So rather than saving a couple of $100, I decided to do it in Standox, which is good quality paint. So, and I'm using the Crystal Clear Pro over the top of it with the HS hardener, which is a 3 to 1 clear. So I usually slow the spray work down on most of my videos, but just to stop this one from getting too long, I decided I'd leave it at double speed just to get more footage into the video, so you can still see what I'm doing. If you want to see a little bit more different videos, I do slow it down, so you can check them out if you want. Yeah, so this is all still part of the first day that it was the second day. The first day was just, we quickly dismantled it on the Friday night, and then this was on the Saturday. We did the rust repairs and we sprayed all the insides. So after painting the insides of the body, I then rolled the car back out, or drove the car back out, and then put all the doors in, and also the inside of the bonnet. And the next day, which will be next week, I'll be uploading the next video. So the Sunday, he ended up coming in and spraying all the panels in the exterior of the car, whereas my initial idea was for one weekend, the first weekend, I thought I'd spray the insides of all these door jambs like this, and then I was going to come in on the Sunday, bolt all my panels back on, so then I could continue driving the car around the week after. But I just thought, well, while I've got it in the workshop, I may as well just paint the whole lot. So on the Sunday, which ended up being the day after this, I ended up coming in and spraying the rest of the car. Monday came in and started on the bumper bars, and started on the second and third colours too. So and began to reassemble it too. So I got it done in quite good time, really. So I ended up putting 2 coats of base coat over that all of the insides, but I just ended up leaving 1 coat in, because you can still get the idea of what I was doing. I just pretty much the same method of spraying the second coat. So it turns out that this bumper bar ended up needing a couple of different colours on it, but I thought I'd just get the blow on first this time, and then I did the other 2 colours over the top. Whereas you do have the other option to paint your blue base coat, and then you can mask off your blue and then do your yellow, and then mask off the yellow and then do your reds, which I ended up doing on the front bumper bar. So first coat of clear, it's just you don't need too much pressure when you're spraying the clear coat on the insides, because you're not looking for the best finish, you just need it to get on nice and wet. So I just ended up using about 1.8 bar, which is about 25 psi. I'm using HVLP air cap on this gun, so high volume, low pressure, so we're getting lots of material on. It's going to last a long time. This clear goes really nice and hard, so it's good for getting scratches. It doesn't scratch too easy, so that's why I decided to use good quality stuff. At the end, we've got a quick clip of the car as it sits at the moment. I just went out this morning and took a quick video of it. It's still not quite 100% finished. I'm actually just waiting on the sign writer. He started, and then I haven't seen him for the last 2 weeks. He must have been a bit busy, so he's just got a couple of Bridgestone stickers that he's got to put on the fenders or the guards, and a couple more little stickers here and there. We've got a standoff sticker that I'm going to put on the fender as well. So I bought pre-mixed colour from the paint supplier, and it was 4 litres of colour and 7.5 litres of clear coat. And I pretty much used every single last drop of the 4 litres on this car, which included the boot spoiler, the bonnet scoop as well, inside and out too. So when I mix this colour up, I use the high pigment white. If you had used a low pigment white, you may find that you would have ended up needing an extra litre, because you'd probably have to put 3 coats rather than the 2 coats that I ended up having to put on as colour. So ended up being a little bit of a fry up on the inside of that bumper. I'm not sure if you can quite catch it, but that part ended up being red anyway, so the clear coat ended up sealing that fry up down, which is basically just where the solvent hits it. The old black that was there was probably just some old acrylic black, and you can have some areas where it reacts with the solvent paint. So, but putting the clear down ended up that it sealed it down. So this is our second coat. It didn't really need to leave any flash off times for this job, because I've got the heat up in the booth to about 30 degrees, so by the time you get around, it's pretty much flashed off back at the start. So we ended up putting the boot spoiler and the bonnet scoop on it. I've got all that footage as well for how to cut out holes in your bonnet to fit a shaker style bonnet scoop to allow the airflow through to your carby. At the very end, I've got a couple of links to a couple of my other vids too. Check them out if you haven't already seen them. A couple of my most popular videos. They're the Developers GDI Pro Light review and demo, and the NS Water Pro W400 review and demo. So as you can see, we did this job properly. I mean, it's my car, so I didn't really want to cut any corners. So we kicked out the rear screen, we took all the mouldings off, pulled the doors off and took out all the locks from inside the sides of the doors, and yeah, I'm pretty happy with how it came up off the gun finish as well. I always like to make my cars off the gun finish. I don't like polishing. No one likes polishing, so I spend that little bit of extra time in the paintwork to make sure it looks good. So sometimes you'd have the option, and I may have, if I had as I said, I changed the method that I was going to do. If I knew that I was going to paint the whole car in the one weekend, maybe I would have not masked the insides up, and I may have sprayed the whole thing at the one time. But in doing it this way, it actually worked out in my favour, because when you've got all the openings that you're trying to spray at the same time, well, then sometimes you can get little bits of dust and dirt flying out onto your exterior panels. So if I was trying to paint the roof and the quarter panels at the same time as the insides, you can end up getting bits of dust land on the exterior panels. So doing it that way actually worked in my favour. And if you mask it properly, you shouldn't get too big of a masking edge. So here we go, we're back out after cleaning that etch primer back out, and we're putting the base coat back into the gun. We'll then come back in the booth and start spraying the blue on the inside. So usually I would have liked to have put the bonnet scoop fitted to the bonnet before I sprayed it, but it turned out that I was waiting on it. I ordered the bonnet scoop 3 weeks prior to painting it, and it still didn't get here, so I decided I'm not letting it hold me up. I'm just going to paint it. So that bit of damage that you can see on the centre ends up that it gets cut around anyway, so that's why I didn't worry about it. That's another little thing that I guess it just shows whether or not you care about your car and whether or not you care about other people's cars, whether or not you do it. Like, most painters don't even paint the insides of the doors. Like, they get a brand new door and they just paint the edges where you see. But the way I see it, like, if I want to pull my door trims off and I want to put some new speakers in my doors or whatever, if I've got to fix a lock inside there, I want it to be blue inside there. Most people don't really care about that, but I do. It's just about how much you care about your car and if you want to do the right job on it or not. So I ended up giving the engine bay a bit of a clean up too. We ended up spraying inside the engine bay. I've actually got the rocker cover off getting chromed up at the moment. That's why I've got a different one on top of there at the moment. At the very end you'll see, I'll give you a quick look inside under the hood, inside the bonnet engine bay. The video prior to this one I've just uploaded this morning. It is a video on the basics and the fundamentals of spray painting. I was in this spray booth and I set up absolutely everything that you need to spray a car, and I've done it as if showing you how to do it if you were doing it at home. There's 2 different ways I explained with a spray gun, if you had a compressor and a spray gun. I did another panel if you were just using a rattle can and an aerosol can. So that video is called The Basics of Spray Painting, so check it out if you haven't seen that one already. About a 12-hour day I ended up doing on this. I think I got in there at 8 and it might have been 8:30 or 9 o'clock by the time I got home. So yeah, it was a big day, but pretty rewarding when you see what you can end up getting done. The one of the panel beaters that come in, because I did this job over a long weekend. We had the Monday off, and on the Monday morning, one of the panel beaters came in, and the old guy, and he said, "Oh, whose car's that I was working on, because I was putting the doors back on?" And he said, "What, that old white thing?" He couldn't believe that I got it sprayed in 3 days. You know, even surprised a couple of guys in the industry. So once we've got that second coat of base coat on, next up we're just doing the clear coat. I'll be uploading another video on this one next week, which is going to be the spraying of the exterior. I've also got loads of footage. I've got the wheels as well, which they came up pretty nice. Just did them in solid colour white, and ended up having to paint strip them, so there's a bit of work involved in those wheels. I've recently just bought a VL Commodore Turbo, so I've decided that I'm going to be doing that up like a old Brocky Commodore, just for a bit of fun. So I decided just to leave the second coat of clear out, just to stop the vid from getting too long. There is loads of other painting you can watch me doing. Yeah, 20 minutes is about where we got it to. So then we'll just have a quick look at the car once it's finished off next. You've got to be extremely careful. You don't want to get overspray on the window tint, because I had twin tinted windows. I made sure I took extra time masking up those windows. And this is the car this morning. I gave it a wash last night, and it's looking pretty nice. As I said, it's an off-the-gun finish. Paid a lot of attention to detail by painting all the handles and the mirrors and all that kind of stuff. Usually I wouldn't do that, but I decided that this kind of car, it would actually look better with all that stuff painted. Usually I'd leave it black if I was respraying a car. So I painted all the engine bay, redid all the black on the inside where the engine goes. Next up we'll get the chrome rocker cover on. That's where I put the bonnet scoop in. Ended up putting in a race radiator too. High-flow radiator. I put the XR6 headlights in too. Pretty mad. Got the twin headlights. Just waiting on those Bridgestone decals for the fenders, and a standox one too. And check out these vids if you haven't already seen them. Thanks again for watching, and this has been another Gunman production. Bye.